The lotus flower represents one symbol of fortune in Buddhism. It grows in muddy water, and it is this environment that gives forth the flower's first and most literal meaning, rising and blooming above the murk to achieve enlightenment. Bacardi, Uttar Pradesh, India, April 14th, 2008. Is this a love story, or is it just familicide, plain and simple? Some would say it's a love story. Families are often pressured to marry people within their own communities. If they don't abide by this rule, violence will often follow. More than likely, an honor killing will occur for bringing shame upon the family. Lal Muhammad, the father of Anjum, Shabnam's deceased sister-in-law, had tipped the police off about what had been going on with this couple. The bits and the pieces had started to come together. Quote, Shabnam's going in the wrong direction. She wants to marry Saleem, and the atmosphere is very tense, unquote. This statement would actually be said at Shabnam's 2008 district court trial by Muhammad in lieu of what Anjum had told him previously. A teacher who knew Shabnam, Nishay Tyagi, would testify that Shabnam wanted to marry Saleem, knowing her family wasn't going to honor that decision. A cousin of Shabnam, Shabnam Ali, would also testify that Shabnam would go to Saleem's house to meet in secret. The father did not like this when he found out, and she would get beatings because of this. The young lovers lived in the same village and would still go behind their family's back to be with one another. They were in love. Shabnam was 22, an educated teacher whose father owned a mango orchard. He was a respected teacher as well and owned a 2-story house in the village. Saleem, 24, was an unemployed Pathan youth. Now, some articles describe him as a Class V1 dropout who worked at a sawmill near her residence. No matter, they were going to be together. The couple refused to let anything stand in their way. It really didn't matter. Both families disapproved of them being together. They were. On April 14th, Shabnam laced her family's food and evening tea with a sedative. They were able to get the sedatives with the help of a fruit seller in the village. When the family finally went to sleep, Shabnam called Saleem. He would arrive with an axe. Shabnam held up the heads of each of the sleeping family members, and one by one, Saleem had slashed their throats. Her father, Sukat Ali, 55, mother, Hashmi, 50, her elder brother, Anis, 35, his wife, Anjum, 25, her younger brother, Rashad, 22, a cousin, Rabea, 14, and Arsh, Anis, 10-month-old son. The horrific crime had swept through the village. All 7 family members had been murdered while they slept. But who had done this? Bilal Ahmed, the fruit seller, when hearing of the brutal crimes, he would tell the district police chief he had been the one to help get them the sedatives. It would be Saleem, the day after the murder, who would tell Ahmad what they did to the family. The pharmacist in the village would say how Saleem had tried to get sedatives, but he declined to sell them to him during the court proceedings. Ahmed would also speak in court about the conversation that he had with Saleem. Quote, I have made a mistake. I am in love with Shabnam, a girl from my village, and she loves me too. We have vowed to live and die together. We cannot live without each other because of this. unquote. He went on to tell him how Shabni's family beats her up because of their involvement, and they will not let the two marry. The jig was up. Shabni had originally said that a hoodlum had came in the home and did all the killings. It was too late. The truth was out. Her partner in crime, Saleem, had been talking a little too much. Saleem retrieved the bloodstained axe from the pond for the police. Empty packets of used sedatives were recovered from Shabni, according to the court documents. The neighbor, a man named Latif Ullah Khan, had testified that on April 15th, he arrived at the home of Shabni, and she was unconscious. However, it was later found that she had, of course, faked it, laying by her dead, mutilated father, whose neck had been slashed. Shabni's two brothers lay near her mother. Her sister-in-law, the one who tipped the father off, lay near her 14-year-old cousin, who was almost beheaded. The room was filled with blood splatter. Her baby nephew, who was only 10 months old, lied in between his parents. He looked like he could have been alive. His throat wasn't slashed, but it was later determined he had been strangled to death. Shabni and Saleem was arrested. It was during a routine exam. Shabni's situation of pregnancy was found out. If she knew she was pregnant during the killings is remained to be known. If convicted, Shabni would be the first woman given the death penalty in India since 1955. Shabni and Saleem, the young couple who were so in love, who couldn't live without one another, would start to turn on each other. During the trial, Shabni said Saleem had murdered them all. Saleem had said Shabni did the killings while drinking wine and called him afterwards to get rid of the evidence. Needless to say, the courts found them both guilty and sentenced them both to death by hanging. They appealed to the High Court of Uttar Pradesh as well as the highest Supreme Court in India. No one believed their claims of innocence. Letters were written to the governor and the president. They denied. The judgment stood. Batu, which is not his real name, his foster father asked his nickname be used. The social stigma of having a convicted murders for parents follow him. Born in December of 2008, 8 months after the grisly murders to Shabni behind bars. When Batu was 6, according to the Indian rules, he was allowed to be fostered or adopted. Batu would see his mother. She would teach him everything she knew, numbers, alphabets. She would also teach the other children that were there to see their imprisoned mothers as well. I guess you can say she was a model inmate. Usman Safa, a former college student of Shabni, offered to take Batu once he turned 6. He even said he wanted to write a book about her. She declined all invitations about her son and a book, when the first thing he said was, quote, "Why did you kill your family?" unquote. Usman promised Batu would be safe with him and his wife. After convincing Shabni it would be the right thing to do, he would take custody of her son. He was questioned for why he wanted Batu. Basically, he said he never had a relationship with her in that way. Others may have been thinking that he wanted the property. He said, quote, "I want to keep Batu away from that property. It has never proved fruitful for anybody," unquote. It's hard for Batu. He can't focus on his studies from constantly being called the son of murderers and hounded by the media. But all in all, he is a good kid. He is respectful. He doesn't hurt people. He is like a lotus blooming in muddy water. There is a fight for Shabnam to be taken off death row, and Bitu's foster mother have joined the fight. The hanging house for Indian women is at the Narrator jail, the only jail where female inmates can be hung. Shabnam's hanging date is said to be fastly approaching. There are 15 other women on death row along with Shabnam. A general inspector of the hanging house said, quote, "We are fixing it up and making sure everything is in working condition, but we can't do anything until a death warrant is issued. Then we can order ropes," unquote. The day was coming, rumors floating around India. Batu held a blackboard sign. At 12 years old, he understood it's a possibility that his mother will be hung. He would even reach out, quote, "President Uncle Jai, please forgive my mother Shabnam," unquote. It's been said the pleas again were rejected. Shabnam, the first woman of independent India, will be hung alongside with Saleem. I believe they are more focused on Shabnam because she will be the first woman hung. I can't condone what she did. It was murder, all 7, including a 10-month-old baby. But it was too late. She was head over heels along with Saleem. Their intentions were dark. Someone was going to die out of this situation. It would have been eventually Shabnam in an honor killing. Was this a love story?